We're not experts, and the opinions expressed are solely our own. We'll do our best to be factual and correct any errors that might occur at a later date. The main point of this show is taking the fork in the road towards comedy whenever possible. There will be many forks in the road. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Drinking and Talking Animals. I'm Bob.
I'm Mark.
I'm George.
And what's my wife's name?
Megan.
Yeah.
Need to get closer.
Yeah. Closer to the mic. A fist away.
Megan.
Yeah. Megan. Yeah. Don't play the disclaimer again, Max. God. Haven't we gone over this? Today is a pretty special episode. It's the first time my wife's been on, and hey, we've already done 100 episodes, so it tells you, she
101.
Yeah, she's been pretty excited about coming on. Well, I think that truthfully, this would be like 106 if we count the 4 redone.
Yeah.
And as I told you guys, I counted the other ones as Pearlfish Remastered, Hippo Remastered, Flamingo Remastered, and I called Hydrothermal Vent Revisited. Because I don't necessarily know that it needed to be remastered. Maybe Max did a touch of stuff in the studio.
Who knows?
Who knows? He's doing his own thing these days. He's in film
Yes.
school. He's sober. He's all high on the bubbly drinks and Zins. How many cans of Zins do you think it's going to take you to get through 18 months of film school, Max? A lot. You're going to have to start going to the Indians. That's what we do. Anyway, today we're going to talk about badgers, Wisconsin staple. That's the University of Wisconsin's mascot.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky the Badger. It's also the reason why I got a pretty good pass being a Seahawks fan as I was introduced to Megan's family, because Russell Wilson was the quarterback for the UW Badgers, and they had quite a respect for his skills as a quarterback. Not that anyone has a whole lot of respect for Russell Wilson as a Denver Bronco.
Not anymore.
We're just going to throw that out there. Yeah. Yeah, you suck. Sierra ruined the guy. I'm just going to throw that out there. Sierra ruined Russell Wilson.
Maybe you can go back to school.
Yeah.
And actually, Bucky's full name is Buckingham Ulysses Badger.
Whoa. I did not even know that. Bub? Buckingham Ulysses Badger.
Buckingham Ulysses Badger.
Yeah.
And
Ulysses.
he was created in 1940.
Wow. He's an old badger.
Yeah, he is an old
That's
badger.
one old badger.
By a California illustrator.
Yeah.
And I don't remember his name.
This will be a good part for you to jump in here today, Megan. How did we come to acquire our beer of the day?
So, I picked up the beer after security at MKE. For those that don't fly a lot, that is Milwaukee Mitchell General Airport. And they have, New Glarus Brewing has a place where you can sit and grab a beer before your flight. And if you want to bring beer home, they will sell you a 12-pack for the low price of $34.99.
Is that the garlic cheese curds or the price of the beer there, Mark?
A little of both.
Yeah. Yeah, they put it in a paper bag and a plastic bag.
2 plastic bags.
Yep.
Because I had to carry, and my flight connected through Minneapolis. So I carried.
Did it go in front of you or the overhead bin?
It went in the overhead bin,
Nice.
but I fly first, so I'm special that way. And
I didn't want to say it.
that's okay.
So you
But,
go just carry on a 6-pack. That's it.
so,
I mean, a 12-pack.
Yeah, I don't think they let you pop them open on the beer. That's probably
No.
why they do the paper and double plastic.
Yeah.
Probably.
But
It's
just-
right.
Holding it like a suitcase.
Yeah.
But to quote my Aunt Jo, I carried 12 cows home.
Yeah. They're heavy.
They are heavy, and she's always worried whenever we come to visit. I only have 8 cows for Bob.
Yeah. Bob's going to need more than 8 cows.
There he is.
Yeah. Mark, Hit us with some specifics.
All right, well, this is New Glavs Brewing Company.
Glarus.
Glarus. Got it. Okay.
Cloaca.
I can't read my own writing. New Glarus Brewing Company Spotted Cow Farmhouse Ale.
Correct.
And it's also, depending on who you talk to, it's also called a Saison.
Yeah. It's Saison style.
Yeah. ABV is 4.8. The hops are Saaz. The yeast, and that's imported from Germany. Saaz.
Just one hop?
Yep.
Just one hop. Yep.
The yeast is German ale malt. Or I'm sorry, German ale is the yeast, and the malts are Pilsner, white wheat, caramel malt, and flaked barley.
Flaked barley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I got out of it, and you'll even read it on the back of the box, I would venture a guess that in Washington State this morning, we are some of the only people drinking this beer because it isn't distributed outside of Wisconsin. And they do brew it in accordance with the Reinheitsgebot German purity law. And I was confused about that and actually scratched out some of the things I wrote down because the German purity law is a beer that's only brewed with barley, hops, water, and yeast.
Yeah.
But the white wheat made me immediately question how in the hell is this okay with the German purity law? Turns out the German purity law has been changed from being specifically barley to being any malted grain.
Yeah.
So that's how it still fits because the original intent of the German purity law was that wheat and rye was so valuable that it should only be used to produce bread to feed your hungry masses and shouldn't be wasted for the delicious production of beer.
Yeah.
So they only wanted to waste the barley they had on beer because nobody likes to eat a lot of barley, as it were.
Not one of my favorite things.
Exactly. And a cool little background on this. Deb Carey raised the capital to start the brewery after her husband Dan passed the Diploma Master Brewer's exam in London in 1992. The first barrels rolled out of a converted abandoned warehouse in November of 1993, and this established Deb as the first woman to found and operate a brewery in the United States. So that's pretty interesting. And in 2003, they stopped shipping outside of Wisconsin, and today they produce roughly 236,000 barrels a year and are the 12th in total sales volume for a craft beer in our country, and that's without distributing outside the borders of their own state. That's how popular this beer. They believe that New Glarus is directly responsible for converting farmers in Wisconsin from drinking specifically lagers and pilsners to venturing outside of their comfort zone and having something with flavor.
Yep.
Those Badgers drink a lot of beer.
They
they
drink
do.
a lot of beer. Wisconsin is as famous for beer as it is for these cheese curds and sausage we're about to eat today. Well, not that these cheese curds are from Wisconsin, but what
No.
are our snacks today, Mark?
Well, first off, we have Abbey Land beef summer sausage, which is made in the state of Wisconsin.
Nice.
And then we're also eating Face Rock Creamery cheese curds. We're having In Your Face spicy 3-pepper cheddar and Vampire Slayer garlic cheddar. And I will tell you, that garlic cheddar
Yeah.
it's in your face.
The sausage is legit,
Yeah.
and both styles of cheese curds are legit.
Yeah, they are.
This might end up being one of my favorite beer and snack days of all time. I'm not going to lie. This is right up my alley for pre-funkin' for the Seahawks game today. We got the Browns. You guys are going to hear this way later than what we played the Browns, but whatever. Let's see, social media.
You mean beat the Browns?
Yeah, social media will be important today because we're going to also dedicate this episode to Megan's cousin Tyler that recently passed away. They started a scholarship fund for him in his honor. We're going to speak more to that after our commercial, but definitely check out our social media, Drinking and Talking Animals on Facebook and Instagram. maybe a tiny presence on X these days. I don't even
we
know.
have no presence on X.
And this is also going to force me into finally getting us a great presence on YouTube, because I want this one to go live around the same time as this episode releases, which, by the way, happy Veterans Day out there, everybody.
Yeah.
This is going to release on 11/11.
Veterans Day.
Right. We'll get to more of that after the commercial.
I'm Isaac Schaefer,
And I am Drew West.
and this is the Entrepreneur Podcast, where we as entrepreneurs have the privilege of interviewing fellow entrepreneurs and business owners here in the Pacific Northwest.
And if you've ever thought about starting a business, what it takes to really be successful and crush it in that arena, you are in the right place. We release episodes every Tuesday. Check us out on the Chatter Network or anywhere you stream your podcasts.
Let's go.
Let's go.
And we're back.
Yeah. Didn't we do that one in the last one?
Yeah, we did.
Ah. Anyway. Yeah.
Hey.
Cut all this out.
One of 3 shows that still do stuff.
Oh. Perfect.
Hey, I got something for you.
All right.
What did the animals in the the grassland housing development on the HOA bar say when the Badgers wanted to move in?
What?
We don't need no stinking Badgers.
Right. The setup was so long.
Yeah, it was.
Right. All I had was American Badger. Stay away from me. American Badger. Right. And we already mentioned Veterans Day, and we'd like to extend our thanks and gratitude to anyone listening out there that has served or has served our country.
Or
We-
is serving.
Yeah, is serving, active duty, reserves, veteran, you name it. Thanks for doing what you did and the sacrifices you made.
Yep.
So that's an important part that makes this country run. And also,
I have a question for Megan.
yeah, she's
Are you having the light on your phone for a reason?
Pardon?
yeah, she needs that to see her notes.
Oh, okay. No, I just
I'm joking. She doesn't,
Yeah.
but
No.
I think she turned it on accident.
okay.
Yeah.
I absolutely did.
Okay, because it
Yeah.
was kind of blinding there a
I'm
couple
sorry.
times.
Right.
It's like,
Sorry about that.
whoa.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that she's also a teeny tiny a bit obsessed with 11/11 as a time and a date, and she texts me all the time. She'll be like 11/11, and if you don't know about angel numbers and numerology, she's a little bit into that stuff. And 11/11's a very lucky number to see in general, so we'll be looking for that on this date when it rolls around for us in real time.
I wish, this is kind of aside from, not really aside, but I wish they'd left Armistice Day and created a new day for Veterans Day.
Well, didn't veterans what came first?
Well,
Because
Armistice,
Because Veterans Day is like the 11th day, 11th month,
but you know
11th
why
hour.
that is, right?
Because Armistice Day?
It was the end of World War One,
Right.
so that was, everybody celebrated that huge, and it was a major holiday all on its own. So I'd like Veterans Day to be a separate holiday all on its own, to commemorate all of the people that served, when Armistice Day was to commemorate the end of World War One.
Gotcha.
That's my point.
Right. So it just basically got combined, everything got combined into 11/11?
Yeah, it's sort of like the Lincoln doesn't have a birthday anymore.
Yeah. Well, neither does Washington.
Nice cream train.
No.
Train.
You can if you want.
Well,
Too late now.
Yeah.
it works into.
Yeah. Well, also, she's here because she's dedicating the show to the memory of her cousin Tyler, and the professional firefighters of Wisconsin have set up a site to collect donations for the newly created Tyler R. Meyer Memorial Scholarship Fund. We'll put a link to that on our socials, but for now, the easiest way to find it, if you're listening, is to Google Tyler R. Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, scholarship. And if you find the Give Smart fundraise link, you're in the right place. You can get directly into it from there. You can donate You can read the blurb that they put up there, which is very nice and speaks to the type of man that Tyler was. Max is loaded with some pictures, which is why this is going to be important for this one to go up on the YouTube so that we can make sure that everyone understands what a fantastic person this guy was. And rolling with that same theme, Megan, do you have any special memories of Tyler that you'd like to share with us today?
Yes, so thank you for letting me join y'all here. So, as Bob's kind of knows, but those who don't know me, I have a really large family. My mom was the oldest of 5, but there was a pretty big gap of about 25 years between my mom's first brother and sister, and then her 2 aunts. And Tyler's aunt being one of those. So 25 years age difference, essentially. And so Tyler was like my first cousin when I was 15. And I remember being at Christmas, and I had my high school boyfriend, and what a buzzkill. No offense, it's kind of funny. Is Megan and Jeremy, you can watch the baby. So,
Right.
So Tyler, you were a serious block. But looking back, probably worth it. Man, I love you, dude. I really wish and this is a family problem, we need to stay in more contact with each other. And so glad that I've started to build a great relationship via phone with Nathan and, of course, Haley. Tyler, you and I had like so many similarities. We were both kind of like well, I'm an only child. You were the oldest. We were both kind of peculiar. You always, from day one, wanted to be a fireman. You had all the fire trucks, the loudest, the better. I was always in the position where, because my dad passed away like about a year and a half or a year after you were born. And so basically for Christmas, we would always spend it with your family. And so I would be in charge of getting gifts. So I'm like, well, not my household. So I would get you the loudest, most obnoxious toys, the loudest fire sirens, everything. And it kept on going even into Nate, where Nate wanted music, and I was the cool cousin that bought Nate his first Tenacious D CD. So
Yeah.
I hope you guys remember that. Tyler, you also broke my bubble because, as Bob knows, I am totally enamored with anything fire show related. It's ridiculous how much Chicago Fire episodes I have watched. And you're like, that is so fake. And then you tell me like how they've done all the stunts, and I'm like, anyway.
Everyone knows Chicago Fire's fake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope, hopefully, your local 483 Sheboygan Firehouse, town of Brookfield, city of Delafield, nobody is hooking up like with everybody. That's very much Dick Wolf TV land.
Yeah, but he did 16 years with Sheboygan FD, right?
Yeah.
Town of Delafield and the others were kind of shorter stints
Town of Brookfield and city of Delafield. So in high school, Tyler thought he would go the nurse route, and then 9/11 happened, and which I think we all have our own personal memories of 9/11. And immediately Tyler was like, I'm going into EMS because I can take EMS classes for college credit and still do high school. And so he volunteered at, I believe, the city of Delafield while he was taking EMS classes. And he was thought very highly of his skills, so he was a trainer for younger firefighters, which gets to the scholarship fund to bring other firefighters into Wisconsin. But he drove a truck in Sheboygan. He didn't really talk much about his calls. I know he's seen some really gnarly stuff, as anyone that works in fire service is bound to do. And they've got a very unique support group worldwide, and if you didn't know that, for first responders. So whether you're fire or police, like if you need mental health counseling or just anything to talk to somebody about, they have special groups for first responders, which is pretty unique and pretty awesome.
Right.
Especially since we're just coming off of mental health, Mental Health
Awareness Month.
Awareness Month.
Right.
Tyler married a fantastic woman, Stacy. While they did divorce, they divorced very amicably, and to this, right up until the very end, she counted him as her very best friend. And because it's October, we'll talk a little bit more about Stacy and the battle for breast cancer. So,
Right. Yeah.
But going on, memories of Tyler. I think I covered most of them.
Right. I have a great one
All right.
that we're going to roll into here. Max has a picture of it.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah, this story also pertains to our beer of the day, since this beer was served at Tyler's wedding and combined with an open old-fashioned bar.
Which is standard in Wisconsin.
Right, and that had me looking for a bathroom after dinner, as I had a cow in one hand and an old-fashioned in the other for probably a solid hour and a half. I found a bathroom, but afterwards I couldn't find my way back to the reception because I'm very prone to getting lost in large buildings. And I don't know what power from above helped me find my way back to my hotel room, but that's where they found me. I don't know if it was that night or the next morning, but Max has the picture there. That's the last known moment of me, and Megan and I had, I guess, a little bit of weird discrepancies of how we described this photo, because I said the one with Haley between us, and she said, no, the ghostly white golf glove hand. So you can definitely see that my hand is ghostly white versus my arm.
I was wondering how you peed with the drink in both hands.
Right. Well, you set him on the back of the urinal, George. That's how that goes.
It was a fancy pants place.
Right. And also, as we move into our animal today, I'll tell you that of all the things that were said about his life during his memorial, nothing stuck out more than how big his heart was. He loved his family. He was ready and willing to help anyone in need. He loved children and was always there to play with his cousin's kids, and was very proud when he became an uncle to Pearson. That's Nathan's son. Nathan also made it a point to say that Tyler never made an enemy in his life, not one. He made friends, he spread joy, and he will wholeheartedly be missed by everyone that knew him. So we're going to roll into our animal at this point, and Megan, if you have any questions or need some clarifiers, just let us know, and we'll do our best. We're all doing our best.
We're all doing our best.
Right.
Yep.
It was All I have to say is, not many people get to attend like a full first responder funeral, and it really is like takes your breath away.
Right. And not to mention, and we haven't covered this, but Tyler was 38 years old.
Yes.
So
38
too
years-
soon.
Way too soon.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
Taxonomy is short and sweet today because it's pretty easy to compared to most of the others that we've done. Badgers are mammals in the order Carnivora. The family is Mustelidae. Mustela is the Latin word for weasel, and that makes them a member of the weasel family.
Yeah, they are.
We covered this in greater detail in episode number 40, so if you like weasels, check that one out.
I do. I think it's probably of all the animals.
I do.
I think
you were there, George.
No, I think the weasel is my favorite animal family.
Yeah. The
in general. I'll never do that.
Thank God.
Right. Where we make a hard turn away from the path of the rest of the weasel family is with the subfamily Taxideanae. That takes us away from the European badger, ferret badgers, and the super badass honey badger. Also kind of stink badgers, but also kind of not.
Yeah.
So they're weird, and we've actually talked about them. So in our skunk episode, as a matter of fact,
Yeah,
we
we
talked
did.
about the stink badgers.
Yep.
Taxus is the Latin word for badger, and this is not only how we get the name of the subfamily, because the genus is Taxiidae and the species is Taxiidae taxus. Taxiidae taxus translates to badger-like badger.
Yeah.
And it also sounds like a city in Texas. Welcome to Taxiidae Texas, y'all. Right. Megan will love that one. She lived in Texas for a while. And we drank Ruby Redbird on the last episode. Hey,
Yeah,
shout out to
yeah,
Texas.
There we go.
Love Ruby Redbird.
Yeah. We have 4 subspecies, and because I'm certain Mark has the where we can find them
Yeah, he
section
does.
already broken down that way, we'll cover them that way. So we're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and move on along today. First, we have the Taxidea taxus, the nominate subspecies. Where do we
Which
find
is
those?
badger-like badger.
Yeah, badger-like badger.
They're in central Canada and central U.S.
Nice. Next, we have the I'm gonna abbreviate TT. I'm gonna call him TT jacksoni.
Tata jacksoni.
Yeah.
They're South Great Lake region in southern Ontario region.
Nice. Then there's the TT jeffersoni.
Alberta and western U.S.
Nice. And finally, the TT berlanderi. Put a
And-
bow on it, Mark.
Southwestern U.S. and northern Mexico.
Bam. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
And it's funny is none of these have a common name.
Just badger?
It's just everything I looked at, they all referred to them.
We don't
by
need no
their-
stinking badger.
They referred to them by their scientific names.
Oh.
I even put in common name for. You would think it would be Jefferson's badger or
And
Jackson's badger or
Yeah.
but no, it's just
what's
it was kind of weird.
Is there big morphological differences between them, or
Little
size-wise-
colorization, little bit of
size-wise.
size.
Yeah,
maybe that's why it doesn't matter?
yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to roll right into that stuff because I'm
Roll
sure
in,
that
roll
you
in,
guys
roll
read
in.
most of the same stuff I did. And what was the most striking feature of the American Badger in your opinions?
Besides their bad attitude,
Yeah, they do have a bad attitude.
they're striped.
They're Klaus.
Yeah, the stripe is
stripe.
an interesting part. Facial colorizations.
Claws.
The claws. The claws is what got me. And damn near 2-inch long foreclaws. And those things and some special parts of their skeletons turn these guys into digging machines.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get back to that in behavior because it's pretty important for that. But I figured it made sense to give a brief overview of what you'd be looking at if you came across a badger in open grasslands, fields, pastures, prairies, or anywhere they want to be that has sandy soils that are easy to dig in.
And,
Because
and things that dig holes in that.
right. Correct. Burrowing mammals. If you have burrowing mammals and the climate's right, you're going to have badgers to go in and get them.
Anything from
groundhogs and ground squirrels are some of the main, their
anything
main
from
prey
worm-
items. So yeah,
Right.
anything from worm to groundhog. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're not picky. And there are some anecdotal reports of them even digging through asphalt and 2-inch thick concrete. And I think they
I might
dug.
not believe that.
I believe if that happened, they came up from underneath and they got it from below and maybe punched a hole up through it. But 2-inch thick concrete, it might have been old concrete.
Maybe in
Who
Mexico.
knows? Most of the time, the standard's 4-inch these days. You're not getting through 4-inch
No, you're
concrete
not.
because it would have rebar in it, and they aren't getting through that. But anyway, and that's why I called it anecdotal
They're
because
digging-
I don't 100% believe that
They're
either.
digging mothers though.
They are for sure. And except for their heads and faces, they have distinctive white and black markings. Their heads do. The rest of their fur is a mixture of coarse brown, white, and black hairs that gives them a brownish tan overall appearance. And some of them
referred
can
to
be
as grizzled.
yeah, grizzled. They can be a little bit red, sometimes reddish brown, depending on region. But in general, tan. They blend in. That looks like. Is that? I don't even think that's a.
That's a honey badger.
Yeah, that's a honey
That's
badger.
a honey badger.
Yeah,
I like
honey
honey
badgers.
Crap.
That's a
Totally
honey
different.
badger.
You're looking for the ones with
You
the,
want to look up American badger.
Yeah, American badger. That looks like a European badger.
That's
there you
an
go.
American
That's
badger.
an American badger. American badgers. Oh, right. They
Mama,
look
let
like
me
that.
see
And
what I'm
doing.
Right. Yeah.
American badger.
So they have a triangular face with the pattern I mentioned earlier, but more specifically, the white markings cover their cheeks and extend above their eyes. They have a white stripe from their nose to the base of their heads. In northern populations, the stripe ends near the shoulders, and in southern populations, it continues all the way to the rump.
Yeah.
So,
And that was on the Berlander eye. That's the distinguishing.
yeah, Belanderi was, I think they're going to be the largest as well, if I remember right.
Yes, I believe. Correctamundo.
Yeah, and that we're getting into that right now. Males are larger than females, and northern populations are also larger than southern. They have small ears filled with bristles that helps keep the dirt out, and nictitating membranes that cover their eyes for the same reason while they're digging. They don't cover their eyes all the time. They're low to the ground, but don't let those short legs fool you because they are powerful. They're wide little buggers and have little fluffy tails. And as a whole, they average between 2 feet to 2.5 foot in length. Weights average from up to 19 pounds for males and 14 to 16 pounds for females. And we talked about northern populations being larger, and there are some males that can weigh between 25 to 33 pounds in the fall when food is readily available, and females in that same region can get up to 21 pounds on average. So much larger than your
Just
average
food-
other populations.
Food available related.
Yeah, food availability, correct. And, when there's plenty of food, does that get you in the mood, Max? It gets me in the mood.
One Wisconsin, they have
I don't
a lot
know if
of
you're
hot,
going to have to,
a lot
rip
of hot
that
dish-
phone away from Megan, or I'll flip mine over, but it's time. Yeah. Get over here, Mark. Let's dig a hole together. Because it's time for mating with Mark.
I don't want nothing to do with your well-used hole.
dig it.
Do you dig it? All right. Well, these guys are solitary. They don't live near each other. They each have their own territories. But during the breeding season, which is in late August and early September, they start searching each other out. They expand their territories for that reason. Now they are
Ginormous.
Gynandrous?
yes,
Yeah.
or promiscuous breeders. Basically, a male territory will overlap several females, and he will breed with each one of them if she so desires.
Yeah. Like, these cheese curds taste like they're from Oregon. I'm not into that.
There isn't any real rituals. It's just like, hey, you want to hook up? Okay, we'll hook up.
And
Yeah.
did I understand their territories are big, like
Yes.
like a mile, like
Yeah.
a square mile,
Yeah,
kind of.
bigger. Yeah,
Well,
they have big.
I
yeah.
think I read
Males have larger territories than females do.
Yeah, in general, I read that you can find up to 5 animals per square kilometer. But that's in a bit. But their territories get larger in the mating season. So
And
this
again,
is,
and that's 1 male and probably 4 females.
right.
What's
Yeah.
a kilometer?
Yeah, and that's in standard, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think I wrote it into my notes when we get to that point that you know that if I said a square kilometer, a scientist wrote it. That didn't come from me. We don't use the metric system.
Now, the females will use a nest in one of the burrows that they have dug, and she lines it with soft grasses. Now,
As you do.
after copulation, the embryo implantation is delayed. Generally, the breeding season is in August and September, into September, and the implantation is delayed until January and February. Now, even though technically she is pregnant for 7 months, gestation is only 6 weeks.
Right.
Now, there are 1 to 5 cubs, and they are referred to as boar and sows, males and females. 1 to 5 cubs can be born, but the average is 3. Now, they're born with a light hair, and I mean, they're not heavily furred, and their eyes are closed.
Yeah, they're basically like pinky mice, right?
Yeah,
That's
with a
kind of
little
how I got
with
it.
a little more hair on them.
A little more hair
Yeah.
than a pinky mouse.
Yes. Now, the eyes open up after about 4 to 6 weeks,
Sharper teeth, probably.
and they
Yeah.
nurse for 2 to 3 months. Now, the female actually will start giving them solid foods before they're fully weaned, just to get them onto it. They will actually start leaving the burrow at 5 to 6 weeks. They're weaned after 2 to 3 months, and then they actually move on their way at 5 to 6.
Huh?
So basically, they're on their own. Now, a female can get pregnant at 4 months.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good pattern for being.
That's a cute little baby.
I can't think of the right word.
Promiscuous?
No, for succeeding in
Oh,
animal
yeah.
life. That
Yes.
ratio.
Right.
That works pretty good.
And
Yeah,
they're
we've
surviving.
talked. I think there was one of the weasels we talked about could get pregnant at like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So this
That
is
was
this would be very common to the weasel
That
family.
was the stout.
The stoat.
The stoat,
Yeah.
stout.
the
stew,
pregnant
stout.
to
Yeah.
to wean time. That shortness that makes them survive easy.
Right.
Now, the average general maturity of a female is at 12 months, and on a male, it's 16 months. So that's what I got.
Nice. About a year and a half. I did read that the dens are called a set,
Yes,
and they can be
with 2 T's.
yeah, 2T, 2T
Ts.
set.
Set
A set of teas. Right. Hello. We all love a set of teas. They can be
Yeah, we do.
as much as 10 feet deep,
Yep.
an additional 10 foot of tunnels, and an enlarged sleeping chamber.
And
So-
basically, they don't. I don't know if you're going to cover this, but badgers generally don't dig their own burrows. They just take advantage of burrows that are already there and enlarge in them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like a Swedish badger pump.
Yeah.
Well, if you move into a new house and there happens to be a rabbit in the back of it, it's all the better.
There you go. That's how they do it.
Hey-o.
That's how they do it. That must have been on a game camera. Yeah, a little badger stuff going on.
That's just
Badger action.
roughhousing.
Yeah. And I got average lifespan at 9 to 10. Record is 14 in the wild. Captivity 15 and 5 months.
I think 27 I got in captivity. It was the record.
Really?
Yep.
27.
27.
Damn, that's a lot longer than what I had found.
It's a
but-
lot of time to be in prison.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. Behaviors here. American badgers are fossorial carnivores, and they indeed catch a lot of their prey by digging. Those foreclaws have a ton of nerve endings, and that makes them sensitive to touch, but it really hasn't been studied that much to figure out why they need so many nerve endings in those claws. Like, what else are they doing? I almost think they could probably keep their feet on that ground and sense the vibrations below and know where to dig, because that's how they find burrowing, hibernating mammals in the wintertime. They dig them right up out of their sleep and put them in the old,
Yeah.
Well,
chow hole.
And badgers don't go into what you would call a complete hibernation.
Right.
They'll just do a slow down stupor,
Yeah, torpor.
torpor.
Yeah.
If you get bored and just do some digging around, you might run into a rabbit.
Yeah. And the same is true for their communication. We haven't studied that a whole lot either, but they're known to make 16 different calls, varying from a long, low-pitched growl to short, high-pitched squeaks and coos that resemble a bird call. Churs, purrs, and keckers are the main vocalizations of adults, while chirps, clucks, coos, squeaks, and wails are made by badger cubs. And if Mark didn't cover it, the main calls in the mating season are male churs and
Oh, that's
female
right.
yelps.
Yelps. Churs
Yeah.
and yelps.
Churs
yeah.
and yelps. Churs and yelps.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Mark already said their solitary and typical population density was 5 badgers per square kilometer. And we already made the joke about that, so I won't do it again. They're mainly nocturnal and inactive in the winter months, with some exceptions. They don't hibernate. They go into what Mark just talked about, cycles of torpor that usually last about 29 hours at a time. So they're getting a little more than 3 days average sleep in one go, as they choose to do. But during that torpor, if their body temperatures actually fall to around 45 degrees Fahrenheit and their heart rate slows to roughly half of normal, they will emerge in the wintertime on days that are above freezing to forage for food. Other exceptions to their nocturnal nature includes remote areas free from humans where they've been observed out during the daylight hours, as you would, because that's no threats really. Seasonally, they can be spotted during the day in the spring from late March to early May, and these would most often be females foraging for their cubs. So, they're with the cubs at night. They go out and hunt during the day to feed the cubs and or to make new milk, But luckily for the female badger, they only really need milk for 4 weeks? I mean,
2
they're
to 3 months.
2 to 3 months. Yeah. I can't remember. I thought you said they were weaned. Did you say?
They open their eyes at 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah. But then they're weaned
At 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 after that.
Yeah. No, after they're born.
Right. Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Now we're catching up.
Yeah.
Everybody.
There we go.
Right. Yeah, you can tell I wasn't eating cheese curds and sausage during mating. But I've been known to do that.
Yeah, you have.
Megan, you were there.
Yeah, she said that wasn't it.
You eat a lot of sausage.
That's insane.
They
I'll
have
kick you out for eating crackers in bed.
Nice. I appreciate that. They have a specialized olecranon process, which is the protrusion you can see behind what you would think of as elbows. This attaches to powerful muscles and tendons that gives them an incredible mechanical advantage while digging.
Yep.
If you look at the skeleton, don't skip the skeletons. If you're interested in badgers, go all the way. Look at the skeleton, look at the head, look at the teeth. They have some imposing incisors, canine teeth. They are a pretty amazingly adapted animal.
They're
and you
badass.
can can see the little protrusions that even come off of what you would think of as the ankle. They're just stoutly built in the legs. I mean, these things are badass.
Yeah, they're a digging machine.
Correct.
yeah.
The dachshund, it also has little short legs, and they have little muscular attachments that other dogs don't have, where they have like little biceps where other dogs don't have it.
Right.
And they're digging
Same
machines.
reason.
They're digging machines too.
Well, and
Little short.
Right.
And the original size dachshund was bred to hunt badgers.
Right. And I
Yeah,
think
and they're not badger killers. They're just badgerers.
Yeah.
yeah, badger. Yeah,
They do.
that's-
They just nip and nip and nip until they come out, and then somebody shoots them. That's the,
Exactly. Yeah. Then they're the badger hound. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. George kind of described this to me as, they basically take 1, 2, or 3 or more wiener dogs. They find a badger. They tunnel in from all directions, and they badger the badger till the badger comes out of the badger hole, and then the badger gets shot by the badger hunter. That's a lot of badgers going on
A lot
here.
of badgering.
Right, that's a lot of badgering. Their most common prey items include pretty much anything they can kill. Here's a good list, though: gophers, ground squirrels, moles, marmots, prairie dogs, pika, wood rats, mice, voles, kangaroo rats, and even skunks. They eat all kinds of snakes, including rattlesnakes. They'll also eat ground nesting birds, their eggs and young. Other prey includes lizards, amphibians, fish, insects, including bees and some honeycomb, and they aren't afraid to eat carrion should they come across some, and they do eat a small amount of plant foods like corn, peas, green beans, sunflower seeds, mushrooms, and other fungi, and I would guess very little of that.
Yeah.
Because
A lot
yeah.
of earthworms, big grubs, stuff like
Right.
that too.
Yeah. And yeah,
If you're
insects
on or in
general.
the ground, you need to pay attention
Right.
because they're going to come and get you.
Well, and if it moves. If it moves, it's small, fits in the mouth, it's dead.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like a way
Right.
more versatile raccoon.
And one thing that I read that I didn't write down is that they have also been known, they utilize multiple burrows for hunting.
Yeah.
They like to lay in wait, and they'll pretty much attack anything, or, as it were, they're just resting, chilling.
Like some bunny
They
goes
see
hopping
something
along and go,
move.
hey, I got a new house. And
Yeah.
they hop into it.
Like, woohoo! Right. But they will also cache food. Like we talked about that with
Yeah.
some other of the weasel family, that weasels kill because weasels like to kill. And I think badgers do the same thing. If food is plentiful, they'll be like, I'm going to kill that. I'm going to kill that. I'm going to kill that.
You don't know when
Here's
the
where
next
I'll
chance-
store it all.
You don't know
Right.
when the next chance you're
Right.
going to get to kill something.
Yeah, be like, I
Yeah.
don't want to sleep in the kill chamber. But
No.
right. Yeah, that's just for
wrong.
extra.
That's just
right.
wrong.
Right. It's kind of like a larder. Even
Yeah.
some of your smaller mammals,
pantry,
create
yeah.
those larders.
Yeah.
And these they probably smell better when you're storing plant stuff
Well,
versus
down-
animal stuff.
Yeah, but down under the ground.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
it's
You're
just-
probably a
it's that
standard
refrigeration
50
thing,
degrees.
yeah.
Right.
Wearing a
We're good.
rabbit hat.
Right. And I'm all the way to threats. So if somebody has got
I've got a little folklore.
uh,
I have a funny story, though, before that.
Okay, go for it.
I was looking around for it because I always look to see if any of these animals have killed humans, and I ran into a story from England. It's a European badger, pretty similar, and
but not related at all.
one of
Yes.
them.
No.
The story was it was in the Guardian. It's sort of like that paper's sort of like the New York Times and the Inquirer put together. You can't believe everything, but one badger named Boris had got let out of rehab and went on a 2-day
They wanted to send
Look at that
him
2-day
to
binge.
a
camp.
2-day
Said,
spree
"No,
of
no,
biting
no."
people. Ripped some flesh off one guy's arm because it bit his ankle, and he tried to grab it and then tore his arm. And 2 guys were walking home from a pub. He attacked them, bit both of them, chased some cops into a car, like just terrorized this whole village. And of course, it ended the way it.
Boris the Badger nipping at your feet.
When the way it was written, though, it was hilarious because it was written just like a terrorist story. So every place where you could put in badger, you could put in terrorist into it, and instead of biting, you could put in knife, and it was written exactly the same. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So Boris was a little terror.
He was.
Nice.
Poor Boris.
Yeah. Boris the Badger.
Boris the Badger.
Yeah. Has anyone ever seen a badger outside of a zoo? I have not.
No.
I haven't.
But we have them here, right?
Yes, we do. We actually have one up at the rescue.
Oh, nice.
And you know what? We tried giving it pet food, 2 different types, and it couldn't decide which one to eat. Apparently, badgers can't be choosers.
Jeez.
That might be the worst.
It's up there. All right, we'll do some threats here. They have very few natural enemies, and most of the time, the young are the most vulnerable. Predators include golden eagles, coyotes, bobcats, bears, and gray wolves. Cougars have no problem taking on adults, and there is a documented case of a radio-collared cougar that chose badgers as its main prey.
Yeah,
So-
I read a couple different things about that is a popular prey for the big cats.
It must be a good meal. I mean, I don't know. Usually in general,
Probably just satisfying.
right. Like, as people, we don't tend to eat carnivores. We just don't. We eat herbivores. You know, cows. I mean, chickens are a little bit omnivorous, but they're also kind of gross.
Yeah,
they
they
eat
are.
poop and stuff. But whatever, I digress. You know, most of the time we're eating a lot of herbivore meat. You know, elk, deer, you know, your big ungulates. That's what we choose to eat. So that's what weird is a predator
I like
that
the
chooses
beefs.
to prey on predators. It must be something specific. Maybe they like the musk. I don't think badgers smell great.
No, they do have they're like all in the weasel family. They do have musking glands.
Right. And maybe that's how it's just easier to track them down, and it's a pretty good meal at 20 pounds. You know, so
I bet
it's better than a
cats,
rabbit.
I bet the cats just sit and wait outside of where they're at, and then
Pounce on
as
'em
soon as
from
they come
above.
out, they just
Yeah,
jump
they might
right on 'em.
stalk them.
No,
yeah.
they just jump right on them when they come out of their hole.
Stalkers. The largest threat is us.
Yeah.
They're hunted and trapped for their pelts, and their hair has been used for paint and shaving brushes for a really long time. Other human disturbances include habitat destruction, automobile strikes, and intentional poisoning, because we think of them as pests.
Yeah.
Which they kind of are. I mean, depending
well,
on
it's got
where
to do
you're
with
at.
the digging the hole. It's usually got associated with cattle ranching.
Yeah, seems like if I
You know,
had
the
prairie
digging the
dogs,
holes, yes.
I'd bring in a damn badger to take care of the prairie dogs and
Oh,
just
no.
hope that your cows can avoid bigger holes. Although I guess every once in a while, you know, the badger does have that bad habit of loosely covering its hole with
Mm-hmm.
dirt when it leaves to disguise it. So I guess that's a pretty good footfall trap for a cow. So
And the black-footed ferret is actually the main prairie dog predator.
yeah. Well,
And
they
that's why
fit
it-
right down the
yeah.
same holes. They don't need to
Right.
enlarge jack shit.
No.
You know, they're the badger is basically as wide as it is tall, like
Yeah.
or long,
Yes.
which is weird. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're like a kind of a flat disc of a
I think
thing.
I
you
think
know?
a lot of that is just fur. I think their body's thinner, and the
I don't know.
fur
Did
is
you
No,
did you
they're
look at
pretty-
this? Did you look at the skeleton?
Yeah.
I mean, though that rib cage is wide as hell. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's built. They're
the
built
fur
low to
makes
the
them look a
ground,
little
You
wider.
could park
but,
a truck between those legs.
but it's they're designed to dig.
Right. Yeah, they do got some friggin' like stocky pecs and whatnot
Yeah.
as well. They kind of remind you of an old cartoon bulldog
Yep.
in a way, with a way cooler face, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they are a cool looking mammal. I mean, and so good at what they do. I would not want to come face to face with an angry one.
Oh, remember we were talking about the bite force,
Right.
and there's a weird thing called the bite force quotient where they use body mass versus, so it's basically pound for pound
Right.
bite force, and that's what it was. They said that it had the pound for pound bite force greater than a black bear.
Oh, that's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that the story went on to say that the animal in North America that has the strongest bite force is a stoat, pound for pound.
Yep.
Wow. Damn.
And it's relative to their size and their prey.
Well, you remember those videos we watched as we were prepping for the weasel episode, and you got this like 10-ounce stoat.
Oh, like
that's
3 ounces sometimes.
Right, that's killing this freaking 4-pound rabbit or hare. It's incredible. I mean, those things are
It's
vicious
just got,
predators.
got right a hold of its jugular vein and runs along
Right.
with it.
And then, you know, they could be off of a fresh kill and they'll be like, holy crap, there's another one. I'm going to kill it too. Right. They're just killing machines. They don't care. They kill and they kill and they kill and they kill. Right.
I can't move. I'm too sticky with blood.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to have to lay down and lick my fur for a while to get this stuff unbrittle, whatever you call it. The interesting thing was they haven't been assessed by the IUCN Red List since 2015, and since then they've been listed as least concern with decreasing populations. The part I don't believe that is accurate to today is decreasing populations, because more recent articles that I've read and that I ran into while prepping for this said that they've been moving into new territory that they haven't historically been located in, which would mean to me a very successful animal and I'm going to repeat what George said earlier by saying that time will tell, but these guys are very successful predators, have the ability to rapidly reproduce from a very young age, and we don't commonly find a whole lot of animals that are in trouble with those characteristics.
And they eat anything.
Yeah, their diet is wide ranging.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just
Sort of-
1 to 5 babies a season per a lot of
Sort of like
animals.
skunk, same
Right.
kind of thing where they eat everything.
Right.
They're going to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah, and this is just one very particular example of where, last being assessed by IUCN in 2015, I totally believe it's time to update the information because these things are not decreasing population. That's my opinion, and I don't study them. I'm not privy to any surveys or whatnot,
No,
but
I would
I'm
agree.
just saying that these animals aren't an animal that's going to be subject to decline unless we destroy a buttload of their habitat
Well, a lot of
or
it's
do
got-
something insane that just makes it impossible for them to survive.
A lot of their former habitat is now farmland.
Yeah,
right, but
And so that
Right.
actually,
But
and again,
anything that eats rodents like candy
Right.
is going to do all right.
exactly. Yeah, they should be fine in like the areas of where they inhabit. They're not having any issues, and I guess, talking a little bit to that, they are not closely related to European badgers
No.
at all.
No.
Like, not even genetically similar, and Max has been pulling up pictures on and off of, that's really how you can tell is the European basically has the solid stripes, almost like a skunk.
Yeah.
Their noses are white. They got the black stripes over the eyes.
and they have a narrower head too.
The American badger is much more stylized in the stripes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's just a way cooler look. Even their ears are just nuts. Pretty small, but, and I don't think we talked about this, but when they dig, their digging style is actually so that they spray dirt across both sides of them.
Yes.
They don't spray dirt directly
No.
back under themselves. The dirt all sprays the way that their musculature and their skeletons are designed
Well-
is the dirt sprays to the side. So
and that just makes it so they can move forward faster
right.
because they're not.
Yeah, they're going
not-
after
not
prey.
They're not creating blockage underneath them.
Right.
Honey badger.
And I think there was something to do with like the way that their front claws work too, that their claws kind of like scratch and pull.
Yeah.
So it's a very specialized style of digging that's adapted to going in the ground right now. They can, if you can chase down a squirrel, you figure these guys are probably 10 to 12 inches wide, wouldn't you think? Mm-hmm. I mean, not starting at their face.
No,
their face
but
will go
yeah.
right into the hole initially, but
Right,
they also
they're-
got to get
they're-
those claws in.
their shoulders
and,
are probably like
chasing down a ground squirrel underground, you got to be quick, and their paws move an absolute ton of earth and material.
Oh, yeah.
But that's also why they prefer those, more sandy, loamy soils of
Did
the
you see where
places they live.
they had a cooperative thing with coyotes?
Yes, I got that. That's the only interesting thing. But what did you get out of it? Because
Just that they'll work in either one-on-one or sometimes there'll be like a couple badgers that would work with a couple coyote, and they just go up to a squirrel. That I think they were speaking specifically about squirrels,
yeah, it was squirrels and prairie dogs.
but
was
they
the most common partnership.
so the badgers do the badger thing, and so that freaks them out one direction, and
Right.
then the squirrels know that the badgers aren't going to chase them out in the open, so they take off running
Right.
out in the open and that's the place that the coyotes get them.
Right.
Not that they're sharing, it's just they each get their own in a different way.
Right.
Coyotes force them into the hole and badgers force them out. I thought that was amazing.
Yep, that's the same way I got it. And if anyone wants to see some pretty cool pictures of it, there's a really short article at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's website called Spotted, a coyote and badger hunting together. And it's worth looking at it, even if you're only interested in the pictures, because you could look at the pictures in the same time you can read the article. It's that short. But George said exactly what I was going to say about their relationship. And the only weird thing, in addition to that, is that most commonly they found in one study, they found a 1-to-1 relationship between a badger and a coyote hunting together. And 9% of the cases, they found 2 coyotes to 1 badger. And in 1%, they found 3 coyotes and 1 badger,
I
which
got it backwards.
which said to me that one guy saw 3 coyotes near a badger. I don't even know that this is real. But the pictures you can find, Max has them up here now. They do hunt together, and what they found was a badger hunting in tandem with a coyote increases the odds of a successful hunt by 33%.
Yeah.
So they're a third more successful hunting together than on their own. But what they did say is in the wintertime, badgers have nothing to do with coyotes because badgers have no problem at all finding their own food in the wintertime when they're even active. I guess they can feel or they can sense
And
the
the last
other
thing-
animals
last thing
underground.
the
They dig them up in
coyotes-
the winter.
Oh, no, they've got sensors actually in their front feet.
Right.
That pick
But
up
that's what I was
vibrations,
saying, that
pick up vibrations.
I read that, but it just has not been studied very much
No, it
at
hasn't.
all.
But they know they're there, and that's
Right.
that's why they're so successful. Why
Right.
they know, there's nobody home.
Well, it's kind of like when you talk about the Arctic fox. You know,
Yeah.
the Arctic fox is like 90% successful when it hunts in the northern direction. You know, it's super. There must be something like that going on, and I don't know why we're not studying this more. I think badgers are badass. There's a reason a whole university chose them as their mascot. You know,
It's funny though that they had like just some agreement where like, don't bite me, I won't bite you. That's
I've got a little bit of something.
do it.
A little bit of folklore. Basically, the Hopi and the Zuni view the badger as one of their directional guardians. And their direction that the badger guards is south.
Yeah.
Also,
the ground.
we have Wisconsin. It's called the badger state, but not after the actual animal badger. It's called the badger state because in the 1820s, the lead miners, in order to stay safe and warm during the winter, would live in underground tunnels, very much like badgers.
a bunch of idiots mining lead.
And so they were referred to as badgers.
Huh.
As that's what they called them, and since Wisconsin is a very large state for mining of lead,
Right.
it became the badger state.
Lead makes you smart
Yeah.
too.
Well, I forgot to mention that the markings on a badger's face are also known as badges.
Yes.
So that's a pretty important part for everyone to know today. Glad we remembered that.
Yeah.
So, that was a great addition there, Mark.
You're welcome.
I think mining lead, I bet a lot of people died before they figured out why.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be figuring nothing.
Right.
All right.
It's like, man, this guy weighs a lot.
So, we ready for reviewing?
I think so. Unless you've got anything. Did you find anything out about badgers that you thought was crazy cool?
No. I'm kind of disappointed that Wisconsin.
In our show in general.
She's had 100 episodes to figure that out, George.
Disappointed that Wisconsin lost to the Buckeyes. So I don't know what Buckeyes and Badgers don't get along very well. But funny thing, if you grow up in the Midwest, the folks that are the Ohio State fans, they're a rabid bunch. In fact, my aunt and anyone who's met her, she's just happy.
Joni.
She's so happy.
Yeah.
She almost got literally cut by another lady in the restroom at the Ohio State, and they take a bus from Madison down to all the games, and it's a big drink fest, etc. And she almost didn't leave Columbus alive.
Got confronted by a Buckeye all gassed up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really interesting. If you live in, I'm actually the oddball out in my family because I'm a Wolverine fan. Michigan.
That's where your dad went.
That's where my dad went, though a lot of my family went to Wisconsin. I actually have a certificate from UW, Wisconsin. And, It is quite the rivalry in Ohio between the Ohio State. I love that everyone has to emphasize it with
Well,
the.
once they get to the NFL, no one else I think gives a crap. But
Yeah, but
Right,
it
but-
it makes me smirk.
yeah. Anyway, we also met up with Megan's aunt in Astoria, Oregon. They did a cruise up the coast of the U.S., and she was very proud that she had decided to wear a shirt that day that said "Drunk Wives Matter." And we laughed and laughed and laughed. Like, she has a fantastic sense of humor. Her dad is probably one of the best cooks I know. I don't know that maybe I'd go chef if I had to. He'd probably call himself a cook because he's very humble with it all. But oh my goodness, if you ever have a chance to be fed by the Meyers, you do not leave. And I got into the most trouble of all time because food was ready and I went in. There was paper plates laying around, so I grabbed a paper plate, served myself up what was for dinner. And I didn't know that apparently they are one of the few states that still uses the dish warming feature of their dishwashers to warm up the plates for dinner. Bob was hungry. Bob didn't know this. Bob went in, loaded up his plate with loaded up a paper plate with all of his dinner. And Joni lost her mind. Right. She was like, "Bob, I am so embarrassed that you're eating dinner on a paper plate." And I'm like, "Well,
for
isn't it?"
corn.
I'm like, "Isn't it saving you?" Yeah, I didn't know it was for corn. Like, it's a weird place, but an awesome place. I mean, the most hospitable people you'll ever find. The Midwest is just amazing. The beer is amazing. And speaking of that, we should roll into the beer review because we're getting a little lengthy on this one, but all for a good cause. The Spotted Cow. What do you guys think? I've had many. I'm more interested to hear about Mark and George's impressions.
I'm gonna put it at an 8.5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very drinkable. And again, I'm gonna go with the farm style ale.
Yeah, and you'd almost call it like a farmhouse IPA
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
The hop works good enough to keep
Oh.
you interested.
Yeah.
But it's got a bready little bit of a finish to it.
And even warmed up, it's not that bad.
I
I
had
mean,
it
it's
straight cracked out of the can just to kind of compare it, like maybe to Rainier or something.
Right.
And it's just I think it's a little less malty than that, closer to an IPA.
Right. And that's, I think, why it's been. I mean, this stuff everywhere in Wisconsin, it's everywhere. And the other varieties as well. I believe that if I remember right from reading on their website, one of the first beers they won an award for was actually their red, and
Yeah.
that was in England. And that's what really made them go, you know what? If we can win awards in England, we got something special on our hands. But they developed this when they got back. And it, I think, really changed the landscape of people's palates across Wisconsin. I mean, you figure you're drinking this versus your average yellow lager. I mean, this has a little cloud to it. I believe it's unfiltered.
correct.
Right. It's a great regional beer. I mean, when you talk about places that have things like old style, even Shinerbach to an extent, but they
Yeah.
also have Lone Star in Texas,
Yeah.
which is more of your, yellow local beer. We have Rainier. They also have Pabst Blue Ribbon, Milwaukee's Best.
Hams.
Right. When you're going to talk about a regional beer, I'd put this among the best of the very best of what you're going to find for
I agree.
a
It's
regional beer that everyone drinks.
It's a nice gulping beer.
Yeah, it's a 9 for me, and mostly because it was one of the. Also, it's such an old craft beer. This stuff's been around since 1993, so this would have been something that would have opened somebody's eyes to the capacity that beer has to have flavors other than Bud Light and Coors Light.
Yeah. Well, if you put a
And don't forget Miller Lite.
Correct. Also a Milwaukee staple.
Well,
Right.
if
And
you
a family staple.
if you put Bud Light up against this, you'd spit it out. the
Right.
Bud Light.
Yeah.
so what about the other stuff?
Oh man. Let's see. Sausage. I'm gonna go 9.
Yeah,
Cheese curds. Also a 9.
yeah.
And for being from Bandon, Oregon, pretty freaking good on the cheese curds. The garlic is there. I guess if I had to go individually, I'd put the 3 pepper at an 8.5 and the garlic at a 9.
Yeah.
The 3 pepper, the pepper's not really there. I mean, it's
well,
in there, but
it's
it
in
doesn't
there.
really add a spice.
Some pieces
Right.
are spicier than others,
Right.
and that's because I had one that was like, oh, where was that for the rest of the bites?
Yeah. That sausage is fantastic.
Yeah, but that sausage is very good.
I'm not a cheese curd man. I do like the summer sausage though, and I don't actually like summer sausage.
Huh.
Usually it's too fatty, waxy for me.
Right. And this, I'm saying the same thing.
This is meaty, more like a homemade elk sausage or something
right.
like that.
And you know how a lot of summer sausage will leave that greasy film on the roof of your mouth? Not this one. That is not there.
Available at
Sounds so great.
Costco near you.
It was great. That is a great summer sausage for
Yeah.
the same. I hate summer sausage for the same reason George is saying. Usually you get that nasty ass layer of fatty grease on the roof of your mouth that you can't stop putting your tongue on, even though it's nasty.
and at best, it tasted vinegary.
right. Yeah.
I have found if you refrigerate summer sausage after you cut it, you lose a lot of that.
Huh.
Well, if you swallow it before you chew
because
it.
as it gets in, as
Yeah.
it warms up, it starts.
Blending.
Yes.
I usually put the sausage down my throat and then regurgitate. Yeah.
You didn't do that last night, Bob.
You're right. Yeah. I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So I give New Glarus Spotted Cow a 9. Normally, I'm a Miller Lite girl, just like everyone else in my family, but it has the one hop that I'm not
Miller?
allergic to. And fun tale of the cheese curds. So Tyler, I think you were my guardian angel today, because I never go to my Safeway because I don't want to. My last chapter in life does not include me being taken out by a shootout at our Safeway. But the thing is,
Tacoma.
the Tacoma Fire Department does their grocery shopping at our Safeway. So if they're there, then I feel safe. So
I went into that store. I walked in the door and saw a big old black lab taking a dump right.
so anyway,
I need to get some potatoes.
anyway, no one.
I'm
got
in the
the
mood
cheese
for pudding.
curds yesterday. A lot of things conflicted in that, and I was running late on time, which is a family trait. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna check the Safeway.
Late
And-
on time, long on stories.
Yes, exactly. And the fire truck was there. I felt safe. I went in. Also needed coffee really bad, and that's another family trait.
Yeah, you missed a flight because of coffee one
yeah,
time.
I missed a flight for my whole family.
Her whole family.
Yep.
That was Megan's fault.
Yep, my fault.
Because coffee.
Because coffee.
Yeah.
But voila.
Anyway. Yeah.
They had not just one, but 2 kinds of cheese curds.
Yeah.
So I was like,
It's our lucky day. Face rock.
And got my coffee as well. They let me pay for my cheese curds there, because I probably didn't look hood enough to be cheese curds. And off I came. So here we go.
Right.
All right. So
Love it.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. To T Dick,
Thai stick,
Sheboygan FD, Rusty.
Rusty.
Yeah, that's a funny story for another time, how he got the nickname Rusty. Anyway.
Friend to everyone.
Nah.
Loved
Enemy to none.
everyone.
Right. Look for that scholarship fund out there, everybody, for real.
Yes, do
guy
that.
was fantastic.
Yep.
The Badger was an awesome show, I think. What a cool animal.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, they'd tear your face off if you ran into one in the wild, but, you know.
I wish I had a bag.
Yeah, don't get your face that close to one, everybody. Get your eye poked out. Anyway.
But
All right.
seriously,
Yeah.
a great cause. So please, if you can, donate.
Yep.
Um,
And win in
and-
Wisconsin. grab a cow and
grab a cow,
drink it.
or grab a couple of cows.
Yeah,
Grab a 12-pack. What the
Yeah.
hell?
And
exactly.
to
$34.99 at the airport.
Yeah, don't buy it at the
What a
airport.
deal.
What a deal. But I just want to finish up with a funny post that Tyler made on his Facebook probably about a couple months ago. And it was a cow. His mom, by the way, loves cows too. Her whole house is decorated with them. And it's a cow standing on a mud hill, basically. And it's like, be the king of your own hill. So,
Well,
leave it with that.
I
Be
love
the
that.
king of your own hill.
All right.
If I could reach anyone else's glass, I'd clink it.
Cheers,
Barely.
everyone.
We made it.
Love you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Peace out, folks.